Hello and welcome to FPL Have a Beer, where I invite you to have a beer with me and chat FPL. Please like to help get the video out there, and please subscribe to keep up to date with the interview series and my new FPL preview and reaction streams starting this season, the FPL podcast and the FPL lock-in. And if you'd like to support the channel even further, please check out channel memberships by pressing the join button. So welcome to another interview in the Meet the FPL Manager series, interview series, where I ask one of our lovely FPL content creators onto the channel to chat about their experiences of content creation, their thoughts on FPL and mental health, and we generally have a chat about FPL and how the season is going towards the end. But as the game's not even launched yet, we'll maybe have a quick chat through the fixtures and stuff like that. So for the latest entry into the series, I have the pleasure of being joined by one half of one of the best FPL podcasts out there, Walsh of FPL FML. Walsh, thanks for agreeing to come on. How are you doing this evening, mate? Or morning for you?
Cheers. Yeah, really happy to be on, Gary. Really appreciate it. Doing good. Yeah, 10 in the morning for me, so no beers, but
yeah,
happy to chat. Go through it, see what we got today.
Because we were saying before we started, Alon said, get Walsh on, he's the one that has a beer. But yeah, 10 in the morning is a little bit early, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, well, time zone's tricky. I'm in the Pacific Coast in Los Angeles, California. And you're Greenwich over in England time, right? So we do what we can. Yeah.
So I know you said you haven't watched any of the interviews, Walsh, but what I generally I'll start by asking, so you can tell it's been a while since I recorded one of these myself, is to get to know you a bit. If you could tell us a few little things about yourself, like where did you grow up? What football team do you support? Your first memories of football, things like that.
Sure. I'm from the city originally, New York City. When I was in grade school, we moved out to the suburbs, some little place called Westchester, New York. It's a little north of Manhattan. And that's where I met Alon in first grade, six-year-old.
Yeah, you were saying,
Walsh
yeah.
Yeah, 6-year-old Walsh and 6-year-old Alon, just in the same first grade class, like terrorizing everyone. And we were fast friends, and we've been really close ever since. He's one of my best friends. Yeah, just grew up there. It's pretty typical suburban American life, I think. Played sports a lot. Soccer is actually my worst. I consider myself fairly athletic. Soccer was my worst sport by a lot. I was they put me in goal. I don't know how or why, but my feet just don't work as well as my hands or something.
It's the same, mate. They used to stick me in goal.
Were you? Yeah. So I played in America. We have a organization called AYSO. ASO is sort of how you say it. And it's just, your parents sign you up. It's like a couple $100 for the season, and you play games and whatnot. You sort of do that from, age 6 or so, age 5, 6, 7 or so. You can start up until, high school if you want, which is, like 9th, 10th grade, I think it stops. I'm not sure exactly. But so I played soccer during my childhood. I kind of played all sports. Didn't excel at it. Professional soccer at the time, I'm like 37 or 38 right now. One of the other.
Yeah, I had to check the other day if it was 42 or 43. I genuinely couldn't remember.
Yeah, I don't. That's what my wife is for. Someone asked me, I just look at her. I'm like, how old am I, babe? But professional soccer back then didn't really exist in America, and there was no internet. There was no reach to see Premier League. Like, didn't even know what that was until I was really like in high school almost. So I tunneled. Basketball was my main sport. I played that, really a lot more on travel and growing up. So soccer didn't really enter into the fray until much later in my life.
Where is it now? Like on the American, if there was a ranking of sport, where would you say soccer is?
It's not on the list.
Not on the list.
It's just not on the list. I mean, no, the MLS seems like it's been growing.
And Messi
women's. Yeah, with Messi over, and previously Beckham did a lot for the popularity. I mean, it's all we have here. I mean, I've been to a couple MLS games here in LA. There's two teams, the Galaxy and LAFC, and LA Galaxy is similar to going to like a high school game. It's a pretty joke of a place, but LAFC is a proper stadium with ultras and singing and drums, and like there's that's a black wall, and so I mean, I'm sure there are very fervent fans, I think, for some teams, certainly. But, by and large, I think just across the whole country, it's just so far down. It's not even funny. Like NFL, American football dominates so hard. And, basketball's popular, NBA, NHL's popular, MLB, baseball's popular. I mean, those are the big four. And it just gets crowded really fast, you know, and there's so many sports, even though at the youth level, Americans and kids everyone plays soccer. Every single kid plays soccer. Like they're in ASO pretty much, unless if you're a neglected child with like no parents. And there has been a lot more push to have in more urban areas, I think, to have soccer, being part of children's lives. It's just, it's hard. I know, like I've talked to people from abroad about it. It's hard to conceptualize, I'm sure, when you have, soccer over in England is like so popular, and it's all like number one, number two, number three, and then there's like snooker or something, but here it's a crowded space, and the schedules overlap, and you kind of have to. It's just a lot. It's a lot.
I interrupted you, mate. So, what team do you support? You were saying about when you started getting into football. Dude.
Yeah, I mean, Alon got me into football. It was I think like 12 years ago. We're really big Mets fans for baseball, the New York Mets. And we were at spring training in Florida one spring. It's kind of like preseason for baseball teams, and they invite, like, you can just go, you don't need a ticket, they just practice, and you could watch. Yeah,
it's of course they did that for football, but
yeah. Well, they kind of do, but now it's like the preseason tours, which are just money grabs, and you have to, it's a different experience. But and they have the same thing for NFL. You go to training camps. It's cool to see the practice. So we were down there, and that was the first year he was playing, and he got into it from some of his friends from the city. We were living in Manhattan at the time, but it was before I moved to LA, and I was just like, what's this? And he just was playing fantasy for fun, FPL. It was the year like Michu was really good at Swansea. I remember like Bale was just donging free kicks. Like it was fun. We watched a couple weekends worth, and it was early in the morning. I wake up early, and I just kind of got hooked from that point.
So, just to take you back then, so you got into football via FPL?
Yep.
Right,
yeah, totally.
Right.
I mean,
I think you're the first person I've met that would apply to, if that makes sense.
Okay. Yeah. No, I mean, we grew up playing fantasy sports. I still play fantasy baseball. We love fantasy sports so much.
Yeah, massive.
Yeah. I mean, I've been playing fantasy since I was in like fourth grade. It was the first year we started playing fantasy games, like in NBA and this other thing called Sandbox when we were a kid. But the FPL, the game aspect drew Alon in, and he just had his team. So it's like, it gave us a rooting interest, because it's so hard as a neutral to look at the Premier League, in my experience, and be like, I care about something. I don't give a shit. Yeah. Like I'm not from any of these places. Like I've been to England, but there's no draw. So the FPL like avenue kind of, you pick your players, you have something to root for, you have something to look forward to. There's a reason to watch the games. And that game aspect was just really fun. So, that drew me in for sure. And then, we started the pod pretty shortly after. I think I played 1 year of FPL before we started the pod. And then we started the pod, I think, the following off season. And this was like 11 or so years ago. So it's like 2014 or something like that.
Yeah.
And so all that is a long way of saying I support Crystal Palace. I looking around, like, we have other friends that are into footy and Prem, and that got Alon in, and they're in our Discord, our little community of football, and everyone, Chelsea, Arsenal, Alon's a Liverpool fan, all the big teams basically.
And Crystal Palace.
And Crystal, yeah. I mean, I'm a contrarian by nature, and what I like, the Mets now are a bit different than they used to be, but it's sort of like that's the fan experience I love and I'm the most familiar with.
What would they be like? Because I really don't know anything about American sports. Could you give them like, what would they be like, equivalent Premier League team?
Probably like spuds, honestly. They're like in the big market, think they're hot shit, but they really kind of suck.
All right, okay.
Like that's what they used to be. We have a new owner from a couple of years ago, and now we're actually good. But like we haven't won a World Series in my lifetime. The last time we won a World Series was in 1986, which is the year before I was born.
I remember I used to watch Lost. Do you remember that show?
Yeah, I never got into it, but I know
I
of
remember Jack when he was on the island because there's like they're separated from the rest of the world, and he's asking, have the Mets won? Love
that.
Like that, yeah.
That's exactly like it's like a tortured, tormented, like really passionate fan base. Like like the Mets fans, like when you go to a game, you could talk to anyone about everything. Like really, like and so I just, but not a winner really. Like just kind of happy to make the playoffs. Like and I like rooting for the underdog. I like rooting for the the less popular, I think. So I have my own, and I'm not gonna like choose Liverpool with a lot. That's his thing. I'm not gonna step on his toes and like make that about us. That's his. So watching, it took me a few years to really like plant my flag with Palace. Because I was sort of just watching the teams, learning about the game, learning about the history, the clubs, like which really resonated with me. And Palace, just the Holmesdale fanatics, the atmosphere, and how they could just go down at any moment, like that terrorism or something that goes with it. All of it really just appealed to me, and I liked a lot of the players. I liked the grittiness. I liked the relegation battle every year when they got promoted. The first year they got promoted was the first year I started following the game. So, yeah, I just love it. I've been to a game out in Selhurst. It was so fun.
The ground's like it's like next to it's got a supermarket over here, Sainsbury's. It looked really like weirdly placed.
yeah, it's unusual. I mean, it's South. I mean, London is so big, but I mean, technically it's South London, but you're in the suburbs. I mean, you're not like in a city where Selhurst was really. So it's more like a town or something.
It's Lewisham, I think. I think it's around that area anyway. But yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I don't remember So yeah, Palace is my team. That's it.
Enjoyed the FA Cup win.
Yeah, it was cool. I'm not too big on the cup competitions. No. It doesn't really hold much for me because I don't have a game with it. I didn't watch any of the pre-final games. I was just like, oh yeah, like whatever, they're gonna maybe win the FA Cup. Like doesn't really not too big of a deal to me. But it was cool definitely to see them lift a trophy, and Trump wasn't standing in the middle of the celebration. Love to see that, so they could celebrate it with their teammates.
I'm going to ask you about. I've got that in my list of questions to ask you later. Okay, we'll come back to it.
We'll hold off on that. But yeah, it was cool. And now we're going to be in the Conference League. It looks like we didn't that the Texter multi-club bullshit whatever.
Yeah. So
we won't be in Europa, but. We're probably going to be on the short list of favorites for the Conference League, so I'm looking forward to that. I'm definitely excited to see Thursday football. It should be cool to see us play some European teams, even if it is like Belgrade or fucking Hungary or Belarus. I don't even know who's in that competition. Teams I've never heard of, Cyprus, I'm sure, but we'll see how it goes. Should be cool.
So before I get on talking about FPL FML, any early memories of fantasy stick out in particular to your fantasy football?
For FPL or other fantasy?
FPL, yeah.
Oh God. Nothing really like too specific. I mean, I'm not like that good at the game. I just play pretty emotionally. So I've had like one top 10K year. And I mean, I guess I tend to really like when my center backs score headers and get 15 pointers. I think that's like my favorite clean sheet header, max bone. Like, that's like my favorite thing to get. I don't know what that means or says about me. But, I mean, there have been...
You have him, John Stones, when he did it twice in one double game week a few years ago.
I don't remember. I mean, I remember when Bob Huth had like a hat trick, I think, a few years ago. I don't know if I had him. Yeah, when he was on Leicester. Wow. I think he had a hat trick against like Man City or something. Insane. But I mean, there have been like I've had good times with Lewis Dunk. I've had some good John Terry times. Like John Terry's Ivanovic has done well for me.
Yeah.
I had some good Vidic times, I think, if I remember. So I mean, those are kind of the FPL moments. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm fucking doing it. Like, got 15 points for my center back, like I'm flying, and then all my outfield players blank. I'm some moron, and I'm like, maybe not.
Cool. So we'll move on to talk a bit about your content creation experiences and FPL FML.
Sure.
It's
FML FPL, by the way, Gary.
FML FPL. Sorry.
Yeah, you're
should
good.
Should I just say FML because that will stop me having to say FPL every single time.
That works. That works.
So I've got some specific questions that I've noted down about a few that I've got noted down about your podcast. But what the way I usually start this section is by saying, you said you've been playing FPL for a year, and then you decide to start creating the podcast. What was like the inspiration for doing that?
Yeah. I mean, Alon and I have been talking about sports for hundreds of thousands of hours of our lives going back to childhood.
Yeah.
And it's like one of the main connective. I mean, we have a lot of overlapping interests and things in common, but it's one of the main ones. And, we just always love talking about sports, whether it's just he and I or just our friend group, or we'd have different friends that follow different teams or whatever it may be. And at the time, I mean, this is a long time ago, and I don't know how, some of these listeners might have no idea what I'm talking about, but we love Bill Simmons' podcast. He's an American sports writer, and now he has his own company. He used to work at ESPN, and he branched off and did a bunch of different things. But he has that was one of the earlier sports podcasts that we both started listening to, and he had one specific episode with his friend cousin Sal, he's a football personality, NFL. And it was just really conversational, really funny. Like they kind of went on tangents, and it was exactly the kind of show that we enjoyed listening. We talked about it all the time. Like, did you listen to the pod? Like, did you see this? Whatever. And at the time in the FPL space, the only podcast that existed was Scoutcast, fantasyfootballscout.co.uk. And this was back when it was just Mark and Granville. Granville's, I think, quite a while ago, taking a step back, and then John D came in and everything changed.
Yeah, I've had them both on to talk about that.
Yeah, have you had Granville?
Yeah, I managed to get him out of retirement last interview of the season.
Amazing. Yeah. So like Mark and Granville Scoutcast, we listened to it because we wanted to hear people talking about FPL. There just wasn't anything in the space. It was so new. Like podcasting was kind of new. There just wasn't really anything out there. And we enjoyed the show, and it was very dry. We never laugh. Like, we're not listening to that show laughing. We're hearing their views and learning about how they play the game, and it's really FPL, real FPL content. Strict numbers and analysis and chart, all that. And we were like, let's just do our own thing. Like, why not? Like, this is a thing we could try. I was moving to LA, and I was like, yeah, this could be a nice thing that we can stay in touch with, like just see what happens. Like, we've always talked about, doing something about like Mets, but there's a million things that's so saturated. So
I was going to ask, that was the reason to do it on FPL rather than, I don't know, fantasy NFL.
Yeah. I mean, at the time I knew baseball's probably my top followed sport. Like I love baseball. I knew 100 times more about baseball than I did about footy, like when we started the pod. And, I've since learned so much more about footy from watching and learning and reading and, everything over the years. But yeah, we just saw it also just as that hole in the market where we were like, we could fill this and maybe people will be into it. And it was just so fun. We started it off and, we really didn't know what the hell we were doing. Alon had the technical know-how of how to, edit and do something. And, we have really nice rapport. So we just wanted it to be, a more relaxed kind of chill, fun, funny, conversational podcast. And we kind of kept working at it. And, weeks turned to months, turned to years. And we just always had so much fun doing it. And we just kept it going, and then, the following grew and we improved and, kind of, I don't know if it ever really took off. I don't think we're like a big podcast or anything like that, but as long as we enjoy doing it, we're going to keep doing it.
Yeah. I was going to say, cause I'm sure you've heard of them, the only Always Cheating podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which was another couple of, I think those guys are American, aren't they?
Yeah, they're from Brooklyn, I think, which is actually where Alon lives. But we've never met them or talked to them. We don't have a relationship with them. But
according to ChatGPT, you both started at exactly the same time as well. But
okay.
Did you? Where they've finished? They
in our Discord they were talking about that. Yeah. I never listened, but yeah, that maybe we'll get more listeners, so it's great for us.
Yeah. I was going to say you've got written in your. I've copied this. This will be in the description for the video, just for anyone who's not watched FML before. It says this is from your description of your podcast. Alon and Walsh mix healthy doses of banter, football insight, and bitter, despicable language into FPL FML. So yeah, maybe you can just give us a vibe of what, like, I have watched some episodes, obviously. What a
Sure.
general episode's like what makes it stand out, as it were.
Well, firstly, we were fighting uphill as both having American accents. I think that's like immediately. Sometimes people are like, I'm just not listening to two Yanks talk about footy, like period, and that shuts off a whole swath of humanity, I suppose. But yeah, I mean, like that little blurb says, it's just NSFW for sure. Like you do not listen to the pod when you have your 7-year-old in the back seat, even though we do hear about that unfortunately happening sometimes from our listeners. But yeah, I think we want it to feel like we're sitting down on the couches, just kind of like having a few beers and just chatting about what's going on and what we just digested from the weekend that we just witnessed. And we definitely do we're emotional and passionate, and we just have fun with it, and we make each other laugh, and we talk through different aspects of what we're seeing, and we disagree a lot. And because I think we have such a unbreakably strong friendship bond, like we have learned how to disagree respectfully. Like sometimes it might tip over a little bit, once or twice it has done, but where we have our kind of different camps. Like there are certain players that we're just like, there's Alon players and players that I can't stand, and vice versa. I think it's just a little bit of a different flavor than what most podcasts are, where it's like, analytics, we're going to bring the chart up, like, look at this. And we used to do a lot more of that. We've kind of done even less of that in recent years. But yeah, I mean, it's just, we watch a lot of games. Alon does a little bit more on stats than I do, but
Are you stats heavy like a black box, or more?
No, like I used to have some tables up when we recorded. Now I have nothing up. I just have the FPL page just so I can remember how much players cost or whatever. But I've just I mean, I watch like 5 or 6 games a weekend. So, and I see every team so much, and my brain's always churning about what I'm seeing and how I'm processing it. And now that I've been following the league for quite a number of years, and I've seen so many hundreds of games, it's like,
do you get all of them out there, all the games?
Well, like there's usually 10. There's always 10 unless there's a blank. So me and Alon will usually try and split them up. So we try and get eyeballs on each game. There's usually 1 or 2 or 3 that slip by, or we both have a conflict, or there's a Friday night game, something like that. But generally we do watch a lot, which I think that is maybe a differentiating point where we talk a lot more about what we're seeing, and there's a lot more kind of gut instinctual feel about, how players might remind us of other players, or, things that have worked in the past, or, what we're seeing tactically. I mean, we're pretty good, I think, strength wise of breaking games down, and, watching a game and being able to kind of articulately talk about, what each team was trying to do, who's in an FPL advantageous position, moving forward, how we think trends might happen, and, picking out games like where there's a, maybe an away rogue captaincy shout because we like the matchup. Things like that is something from the more football analytical standpoint, things that we enjoy doing, and finding, kind of unheralded, under the radar players that, everyone's going to have Mo and Holland, or, that's not as interesting to us. We look for those mid or cheaper price players, or trying to find, angles or edges, sort of how we go. But yeah, very conversational though, no agenda, we have some general flow, but it's just really conversational, and it can go in any direction. Sort of how it feels.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, because we were talking before, I had this podcast that I'm starting. I'm calling it the podcast because I want it to have I know you said one of you guys will probably be up for coming on one week. More of a general chat sort of vibe, like two blokes down the pub, rather than constant XG tables or whatever. I mean, there's definitely a place for that, but I think I certainly prefer the content that's more, as you say, conversational rather than fixed.
Yeah, and it's funny because as I've the more I've played, the less other FPL information I've taken in. Like when I started doing the pod, I was like reading every Fantasy Football Scout article, looking on the forums even. Like I was like trying to consume and digest as much as possible. And as I feel like I kind of hit different plateaus and levels, I don't do anything now but read some articles on The Athletic about players or like exposés.
I hope you don't mind me saying, before we started recording, I mentioned to you that the two big names I haven't had on the channel yet are FPL Harry, and I did use the word Oscar, but that's FPL Focal, and I don't think you've heard of either of them, have you?
No, yeah. Like, so behind the scenes, Alon does Twitter and Blue Sky, which I'm learning is more popular or becoming popular.
It sort of peaked, and now everyone's gone back to X, I think.
Okay, it's out. We're out now. Okay,
pretty much.
I guess the monopoly is still a monopoly. That's the thing. Yeah. And like I think we have we have it. I know we have Instagram. I don't know if we have TikTok. I don't know about any of the stuff. Like I don't go on any of the stuff. I don't listen to any FPL podcasts. I haven't for years. It's really just like our Discord is a really awesome community, and it's always kind of going. So people post things in there, and I learn about transfer rumors and things like that in that respect. But I really just check Athletic articles out. It's are you familiar with that website, The Athletic?
Yes, yeah.
I
don't read a lot. I watch the odd podcast they do and stuff like on YouTube.
Yeah, so I they have nice articles that keep me up to date. But watching games is a lot. So
you've got
I'm kind of hermetic.
I'm assuming you've got quite a big community because one of my friends, I won't mention who, has got an FPL Patreon, and he did a bit of a search, and I think you and Planet FPL were like the two biggest FPL followed on Patreon. Is that right?
Oh, is that so? I don't know.
So I'm assuming you have quite a big Discord and stuff.
Yeah, like the Discord community we've been able to cultivate. I mean, like, me and Alon are we're kind of sickos. So if you're a little bit sick in the head like we are and perverted, then, the community that we've been they're kind of all sort of cut from different cloths, obviously. And it's also worldwide. So the time zones, it's just kind of chatting all the time. And it's been really invigorating to have that community, and it's so vibrant, and it gives so much back, where it's like we're putting people in touch with each other, and people have become friends with people that they've met on the Discord in different countries and met up in real life. And it's really fun. Like that's a really cool aspect that we've been able to cultivate. And I don't really remember how we started on Slack, actually. That's right. A long time ago. Actually, this is a funny story. Yeah, when we started, I totally forgot about this. We would offer in the episodes to just email. If you have any questions about your team, just email your team and ask any questions. Like we'll email you back. And that was my charge. I was pretty, Alon did some, but I took that over, and it got to the point where it was just like dozen plus emails every day. And I was like, all right, like cannot do this at all anymore. Like, and I would write, a lot of words. Like I would give thought into it, and people had the time to email. I felt like they deserved an honorable and worthy response from us if they wanted to hear what we thought. So that morphed into starting a Slack, which is, Discord, it's a chat room, right? It's just a chat room, and starting the Patreon and everything. And we've noticed, like for us, like this is a way that we can monetize and not feel like capitalist whores or something. And it's just kind of steadily grown. We get to ban people sometimes, which is fun when they step out of line. And there's a lot of, been controversy over the years, and, spikes and ebbs and flows. But yeah, it's really fun. Like it's just a lot of like-minded people who are obsessed and passionate about FPL talking about FPL all the time. And yeah, it's a cool spot. It's where I spend a lot of my days.
Yeah. This is why I've got the Trump question noted just before I go on to ask you a bit more about being a content creator. So for anyone watching, it's probably come out a week or so after we recorded it. We're recording it the day after Chelsea won the Club World Cup. Was the fight? A lot of it was in America. Was the whole thing in America, wasn't it?
Yeah, I don't know if there was any in Canada or Mexico, but a lot was in America. I know the final was at MetLife, which is where the football Giants play. That's the NFL team I support.
Did you watch much? Were you tempted to go and sing?
I didn't watch 1 second of any Club World
No,
Cup
never
game.
did I. Never did I.
I didn't watch a second of the final. I could not give less of a fuck about this competition.
What did you think about it? I mean, I've only seen the clip. It's basically like the players they're starting to do their little dance like they do now, don't they? Before they raise the trophy.
Yeah.
And he's just like, I'm just imagining he was in there. It's saying like, didn't I hand the trophy over well? I'm the greatest trophy hander over of all time. What did you think of that?
It's just, I mean, honestly, it's just embarrassing at this point. Like I don't pay much attention to politics. I sort of just have my little life here and I try and keep it simple and keep it small. But it's just an embarrassment, I think, to me as an American, that this is the message and the way of functioning and acting that's portrayed internationally. Because that's really, I guess, all I'll say about it. And I don't think that was any anomaly. Like him not having the awareness to think that I'm not going to stand and like, it's so par for the course that it's like, unfortunately, if you're not numb to it, you just live in a state of angst, I suppose, or anger or whatever you want to call it. What can you do but laugh? I mean, how do we cope with human tragedy, right? And he is one, and he stands there with his, fat fuck, like can't even move, and he doesn't move. So the other bald guy that looks like a meat puppet, the FIFA guy, just trying to, hey, come over here, Don. He's like, it's just beyond. It's just beyond comprehension.
It was quite funny though. So, next question I'll ask you. Walsh, is what would you say are the positives and negatives of doing FPL content or being a FPL content creator?
Oh my god, I see why you could go 3 hours on this one. These questions are like, let me get out my book of things. Well, it's complicated relationship. Like it's changed a lot for me. I mean, now at this point, we've been doing it for over a decade, right? So it's just a part of our life, Alon and mine. And, so much has changed in my life since then. I mean, when we started, I was in my 20s, didn't have much else going on. Now I got married since we started. I have a kid and, I'm a father now and, I've changed careers and, so much has changed. So I'll just say for right now, there really isn't much negative for me anymore. I've sort of like de-escalated the amount. I think there's like an inverse graph or something where it's like the less I personally identified with FPL, the more fun I started having, and like just acknowledging and really accepting like I'm not very good at the game. Like that's just a fact. Like you look at my record, I'm just not that good at the game for whatever reason, whether it's because I'm due the pod or in spite of the pod or whatever it is. Like I'm not late riser. I'm not, mark like getting finished like 152 and 1,400. Like I don't see the matrix. I just don't. I take too many hits. I transfer players that I like. I rip them out if they have one bad game. Like I'm just, whatever it is. But I think so now to say is like, now I really just look at it as just fun. Like it's just fun. It's a game. I love having players in my team that I like. I really index highly around that. Like if I don't like a player, there would have to be a lot going on for me to put them in my team.
What do you mean by like? What do you mean by like?
I have just like stylistic players that I'm drawn towards. I mean, it's like Ozil is one of my favorite players of all time. Yeah. I absolutely loved watching Mesut Ozil play football. I could watch him play every day for the rest of my life. Dusan Tadic is another one of my absolute all-time favorites. I don't know, I like the floaty boys, I guess. I like the 10s. I like the creative types. And Kun, I loved Kun Aguero so much. Like there are just some players that I just feel an emotional connection to watching them, or I'm like, I fucking like their style, or like I like the way they play. I like the way they just yelled at the ref or something. And then there are players that, I just don't like. For like Timo Werner is famously one, where like me and Alon have argued about in the past, and I'll cherry pick one that I think I came out ahead of, but he's just like, he does all the X stats so well. And then when he has to do the final act, it's like, you have no fucking idea what's happening. And like those types of players, are like Doku is the newest one. I cannot stand this guy. I cannot stand Jeremy
Yeah.
Doku. I hate watching him play. I hate how he plays. I hate what he does. And like putting him in my team, I had him a little bit last year because I was like, let me give it a shot. And then when I feel like it was a personal attack against me when I have him in my team and he lets me down, then they go on a list and it's hard to get off that list for me.
I quite like it watching him dribble at players. It's just he doesn't do anything when he's dribbled past him.
Yeah, therein lies the conundrum.
Yeah.
Therein lies the Jeremy Doku experience. But yeah, I'm sort of losing my train of thought. How did we get over here? We were talking about.
So the question would be in positive and negative. So I'm taking from that you probably got some pressure felt a bit of pressure maybe about rank and stuff early on, and then you kind of don't give a shit anymore.
Yeah, totally. Like me and Alon are sitting there thinking like, okay, if we do better, would we be more credible and get more listeners? And that's possible. And also we have no control over it because, we just sort of meander through FPL every year. We come up with rules. We think they might make sense. We break them. Like we're like the devil and the angel on each other's shoulder. Like, oh, like that's a good idea. Like, is that a good idea? And, we've grown over time of like how we use each other as a resource because he's really the one of very few people I talk about with FPL that I actually consider like what his thoughts are. And like, if he's saying something I hadn't thought of or something that's going against my feeling, I really like critique it in my head and say like, well, what's Alon talking about? Because I am so on a different page, like what's going on here? And, we might have more conversation about it or I'm just like, oh, I guess this is a time where Alon's a fucking moron and he's wrong, which happens sometimes. So yeah, we just sort of like laid our hands down. We're just like, this is who we are. We just have fun with the game. We chat shit. We like watching. We like talking to the community. People take some of our words, leave some of them. Like, interpreting our show is like mad scientist work of like, if you can listen to 15% of our show and do 0% of what we actually do, that's a good like FPL addition to your portfolio. But which 15% is the challenge because it's a lot of madness, a lot of theorizing from us, I think.
Yeah.
So yeah, that really helped just make it not feel like, I'm like, oh, like panicking or stressed over anything happening. It's just, I get 40 points, I get 80 points, I get 90 points. I'm 20K at this week. I'm, 300K next week. I'm like, it's a game, it's chill. I'm fine. Like no one that I don't even see anybody that knows what this fucking thing is in my real life.
Yeah.
So it's like almost like a secret kind of. So it's not like where, you go, everyone in England plays FPL. Like if I was, all my friends would be talking about it all the time. So I don't have that.
I don't know a single, most of my friends aren't into football. I don't know a single, obviously
Gotcha.
I've now made friends specifically through FPL, but prior to that, I think I've known one guy in the whole of my working life that actually I could talk about with FPL. So it's quite
wow. Okay, that's a surprise to me. Okay,
yeah. It might be because I'm a psychologist and I work in a university. They're not your typical.
They're not the sport. No
They're not typical working class guys.
Yeah.
What I mean?
Yeah.
But,
yeah.
So a question that I put in here, Walsh. Just for I like to think maybe some up and coming content creators might watch these. What advice would you give anyone wanting to start out making a YouTube channel or a podcast on FPL?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, because it is a crowded space, and also there's always
Very
room for
crowded,
new voices. I think the YouTube podcast. The first thing I will say that I've told people this before when I've been asked this question is, if you wouldn't listen to your own podcast, like if you don't like what you're doing, you're doing it wrong for you.
Yeah.
Like you have to be passionate and find joy in the process of the creation, where it's, something that you look forward to and you don't see as a chore, because that's when the personality and the effervescence of whatever you have to say and however you have to say, it's going to really shine through. So that's one thing. And the second part is, which I'm sure is a old played hat, but consistency. You have to do it consistently. You can't take a few weeks off. You can't do it sporadically. You can't, you have to come up with whatever that consistent schedule is, even if it's monthly. I mean, like for you, Gary, I mean, you're interviewing content creators, that doesn't that doesn't have to follow the cadence of the season every week or anything. You can, but you're putting, you started in the fall and you put out 30 plus, and that, like, that's like, people need to, there's a high barrier of entry now when podcasts and YouTube channels, there's so many of them, that if you're not reliable, where people can't see it pop up, like, oh yeah, and get into their weekly churn, I think you're just dead in the water. Like, and not to say you got to do it for 5 years before you reevaluate.
Have you ever missed a week in 10 years? Sure, it's got a big one.
We take breaks sometimes in the summer, but it's intentional. We do have a couple of stand-ins where one of us has done it. We have no. The answer is no. We have
wow.
Whether it's Alon, whether it's Alon during the season, whether it's Alon doing it by himself, which has happened. I've done one or two by myself. We have one of our friends come on for the other. We jump on, but no, we've never missed a game week. I mean, it's just something that we really pride ourselves on, because I know how pissed off I get when something I look forward to listening to isn't showing up on Tuesday when I'm usually listening to it. And, you know, we feel honored that people listen to us in the first place and want to spend time with us and enjoy what we do. You know, we can prioritize it. We do, and we like making it, and we want to continue to, you know, shepherd that and steward that. And we see it as a big part of kind of our integrity and our work ethic and how we are. And we just kind of, we just keep doing it. And it's only 38 games, you know, it's doable. Yeah. Sometimes the schedule gets a little bit chopped. You know, we can't do it on this time, we do it on that time, but we're pretty committed. So so that, and you know, I'm not saying if you have a week, you might as well delete your life and your podcast. No, but just the idea of, like, you know, thinking that you can do it sporadically, or, you know, I think that has to really be understood, I think, when you begin the endeavor, because it is time consuming. You know, it takes a lot of time. Yeah,
I mean, I do these interviews. I mean, I tried to release them once a week last year. They're going to be a bit more like once a month this year. There might be a few more in pre-season, but the idea, I'm going to be trying to do a reaction stream and a preview stream each week this year, and I am slightly petrified with the amount of consistency and work that's going to have to take.
Sorry, that sounds awesome, and like that'd be really cool to dip your toe in and see if you like it and how it is. Yeah, and I will say having a partner is very nice. You know, I mean, for you, if I was by myself, like, you know, I get a migraine or something, I can't record on a day, I need a couple of days off. Like, I could say, like, dude, I can't make it this week. Like,
I've got 5 co-hosts. I've got 5 co-hosts, thankfully.
There you go. You'll be all set.
Not at the same time. So,
no,
last 2 questions I ask here are a little bit of fun. Well, the last one is, but first of all, how did you come up with the name FPL FML?
I don't remember. I think we wanted something catchy. And it stands for, obviously, fuck my life.
Yeah, that stands out.
We wanted something short, quick, to the point. You know, it gives a little flavor of, like, this isn't your right. You know, it's not FPL analysis podcast or something, where it's a little bit, you know, tongue in cheek. You know, the similar overlap of the letters. It sort of like flows off, and I think Alon came up with it, but I don't think we spent too much time on it. I think it just kind of came fairly quickly, and we were just like, we just want to start recording, so fucking whatever, it's fine. And we just went with it.
The last question in this section, I always guess the answer to this. I'm going to guess, given you're from America, and although you do have a bit of a YouTube presence, you're mainly a podcast, I'm going to guess no. And the question is, have you ever been recognised out on the street as Walsh from FML FPL?
No, I have not.
No.
Pure anonymity. I get to walk around and no one has any idea who I am. That there are dozens of people that know me somewhere else, but not here.
The weirdest one is with the podcasters. You know who got the assist?
I know of them, yeah. I don't know the names or
their host is never. I don't think he's ever been recognised visually, but a lot of people he's been out sometimes and people just recognised his voice. Like, he's been in the back of a taxi, which is it's weird the way the recognition in the brain works.
That's funny.
Okay, so move on now to the next section. We talk a little bit about FPL and mental health. Just a reminder, if you're still listening at this point in the video, please like to help get the video out there. Please subscribe to help to keep up to date with the channel. And if you'd like to support the channel even further, please check out channel memberships by pressing the join button. So the first question I ask you, I usually try and ask you in two parts, Walsh. Has FPL ever had an excuse me. I mean, it's going to be difficult for you to answer this because you've basically been creating content since you started playing FPL. But if you can separate them out, has FPL ever had a negative effect on your mental health mood? Firstly, as a player, and secondly, when you sort of take the content creation side into account as well, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I absolutely, like, so much, and a lot more in our earlier years when we were, probably just more self-conscious.
Yeah.
We were younger and just less mature and less less experience with how does this reside.
This is a content creator.
Yeah. Like, how does this reside in our lives, as content creators? And it was tough. Yeah, there were definitely some tough weeks, tough days, tough months where it's just nothing's going right. And wait, no, sorry, I'm talking more about FPL than the content.
Right,
the content creation aspect. Do you mean specifically just like us making the podcast, or
or just in general, like,
challenges with creating the pod? Like,
it can be anything, mate. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people have said, just going on the past 30 interviews, that having your rank being shown publicly every week. Some people that and wanting to do well and stuff. But some people are fakes, but some people don't give a shit. It just sort of depends.
Yeah, no, totally. So, I mean, relating to that, with the FPL point, it's back then when I was really caring more and I thought it mattered a lot more. I'd be down if my team did really bad, or I had a really bad month, or like that, and my mood might be really down, and people perversely like when we're doing badly, I think, too, because we complain and rant and rave sometimes on the pod about it, and but now it's just much less like that. I don't, I get emotional about it, and I get, I feel like I want my guys to score and I want my clean sheets to be clean. But it doesn't really affect my mood now as much as it used to, where, like, we have clips where it's like daddy's in a bad mood and different things of, like, we need some time to decompress after like a really bad FPL beat. And it just took time, talking together with him about it, how he feels. Like, we both have different highs and lows, and playing off each other and helping each other through that, because he's the only other person that knows what it's like that I talk with, on an intimate day-to-day basis, how it is. And, having him as my partner, in the partnership has been really more helpful than I could ever imagine.
Is there any rivalry there? Is like
no. We are like, if there was a book written about a healthy friendship, I think it would be the two of us. Like, we love each other so much, and like, I'm an only child. He has a couple brothers. We just don't have that type of sibling rivalry type thing that might become present in to male friendships over times. Like, ever since we were younger, I mean, we've just, I don't know, we just kind of cheer each other on and support the other, in really nice ways. And, we're both really good at doing that. And, I'm happy to report that. And I think that's been a big reason why we've been friends for over 30 years. I mean, we just get on so well together, and we kind of have like a telepathic kind of communication style almost at this point, and we fill our roles. And I mean, looking over back to the content creation side, like, that has been so easy for us, like, because we just have such open lines, and we know we are so open to feedback and criticism, and that we're coming from kind of just a constructive place, that we want to do the best that we can individually and together as a partnership. So, we do, no matter how well or badly we're doing in FPL, if he has a bad week or I have a bad week, we are sensitive to, like, who's holding the pain ball for this moment. Like, if it's me and Alon just flew, like, he'll be a little bit more tame in his celebratory kind of remarks, because for sensitivity reasons, and sometimes I'll really push him if I'm, like, not too, and vice versa, like that kind of thing. So, we just kind of figured it out as we've spent all this time together.
Yeah, it's interesting because some maybe not podcasts so much, but certainly some FPL channels. There is quite a rivalry between the two hosts, and then other ones is not. It's quite interesting, like how different podcasts work.
Yeah.
All right, so this one, I'm almost certain I'm going to know the answer, but I'll ask you it anyway. What's more important to you in a given game week? How Crystal Palace do, or how your FPL team do? I'm fairly sure I know how you're going to answer this.
It's a good question. Can they tie?
Really? I thought you were. I mean, given that you got into it on the basis of FPL, I was fairly sure you were going to say your FPL team.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't believe in God, but I believe in sports. So my teams sort of are like my religious affiliation and my spiritual. So, I follow Palace very closely. And I never miss a Palace game. I watch every Palace game no matter what. So if like Palace are on the slate, that's one of my screens. Like, so I mean, 10 years, 38 games, that's like 300 plus some other games. I've watched like probably about 400 or so Palace games in the last 10 years. That comes in deep, and I have some of their little gear. I've been to sell her, like, I'm trying to teach my son about the right teams to root for, which are my teams. And, so it does actually have a high import, and so yeah, I do maybe, a little surprising there probably from what I've been talking about so far, but, I do really love Palace. I really do. So I care deeply about both things. I'll cop out on it.
Does it ever affect your who Crystal Palace are playing, or Crystal Palace being in the Premier League? Does it ever affect your team selection? So, for example, you don't captain Salah against Crystal Palace because you don't want him to have a hat trick, or do you get what I mean? Like, influence your decisions. Does it?
Yeah. It definitely does, 100%. I mean, my biases, I try to make them as on the table as possible because I have, as we all do, have many. I did play for a really long time that, as a rule, I never captained against Palace.
Really?
I have since, I think the last couple of years I've gone off that, and I have capped against them a couple of times. But for the first like 5, 6, 7 years, it just doesn't matter. Not capping against Palace. Don't want to experience that. But I definitely have like a little sunnier glasses. I think like, oh, Palace are like good. Like, I don't think that it's going to be a clean sheet game. Like, when maybe the data or really what's happening is like, no, we're not scoring any goals for this spell. They fucking suck. And I usually...
Quick,
go ahead.
As a Palace fan, why do you think, because I mean, it's been at least the last 3 years, why do you think they're so shit at the start of the season and then they seem to finish so well?
I think each year I would have different answers for you each year. But I mean, like preseason is just... the injuries, the cohesion is just, we haven't had a lot of carryover and key personnel where everyone's healthy at the beginning of the year with like a normal preseason. Yeah. And it's also, I mean, this year we had the goal disallowed game week 1, Eze on the free kick, wrongly disallowed in the Brentford game that, caused us to lose, I think, instead of draw. And I mean, we had tough fixtures last year to begin the season, I believe, but there's always I could always give you some good reasons, but I think the bottom line is, we're just not that good. We're just a mid-table team. Like mid-table teams lose a lot of games, and when it happens, like usually
Glasner's you lose them in a slight win and lose in a slightly more unstructured way, though, than Palace. You know what I mean?
No, that's true. That's true. I mean, we punch above our weight class a lot of the times, and then we play to the level of our low opposition a lot of the times as well. But I think with Glasner's system, like there's just a lot of running. There's a lot of key positions that, if we're missing 1 or 2 guys, it's kind of like a house of cards. So like 2 years ago, when we had Elise at the end of the year, you remember we were scoring 5 goals a game. We were just the best team in the league for like 6 or 7 game weeks at the end of the season. Yeah. We have that in our locker. At the same time, we also, we were in like 19th after game week 7 last year or something like that. We have that in our locker too. So, it's a roller coaster club kind of. Yeah.
This is a new question I've added in, but it does kind of relate to mental health. Have you ever rage transferred a player in and instantly regretted it?
Oh, yeah. I mean, more times than I could count. I mean, I remember I used to. I think there was one time, I don't remember if it was me or Alon, but there was one time we were like, I think we transferred the wrong player out and then immediately just took a hit to undo it because we like pushed the wrong button, something like that. But yeah, I mean, sometimes someone's already on their last rope, and like I don't even care that there's a game on Monday. Like I'm just doing it on Sunday. Like, I don't care. Yeah. Like I cannot stand to look at this player in my team anymore. And I push the button, and then the catharsis washes over me for a few minutes, and then I try to go have a sandwich and disconnect. But yeah, I mean, I like I've been mentioning, you know, games to me are meant to be played for fun and, you know, just to feel different emotions.
Yeah, you seem like quite an emotional player.
Yeah, I'm a very emotional player. So, you know, when I have close connection to a player that does something for me, or someone that's just repulsing me week after week, and I can't believe I still have him because other fires are like, I wasn't supposed to, in air quotes, do the thing. Like now I just rip it. Like I don't like the guy. I don't like the outlook. I'm not going to be held hostage by a good fixture, or like if I don't like the stock, I sell it. And it's probably to my detriment in the objective sense of like, is this smart, or is this a wise way to play if you're prioritizing your OR? I would definitely say no. I mean, you want to be making analytical decisions based on information, not subjective, emotional, irrational decisions based on your heart. You know, that's not the way you invest in stocks. That shouldn't be the way you invest in players in FPL, which is the same thing as stocks. So yeah,
as you're saying this, my mind's instantly got, you probably won't know who he is, but there's a very famous name in the FPL community, Triggerlips. You ever heard his name?
Oh, yeah. No, he's an old school. So I used to post on the Fantasy Football Scout forums back in the day, which had a lot of old heads. And he is, Nick, very familiar with his antics.
Yeah, well, he's one of my co-hosts for the podcast. So
interesting. All right.
So maybe we could try and get you on one with he's a. But just the way when you're saying that, I know he's been talking a lot recently about we should be playing the game more emotionally, and it's getting too statistical and analytics driven. Would you agree with that as a general statement?
No, not at all. I think every single person needs to come up with why they play the game. You know, that answer is different for everybody. Yeah. And, you know, I mean, it does make it a little bit more on rails if people are using some of these tools and models that have been being promoted and coming out over the last few years. But if you're playing the game to do the best you can and win money in your mini leagues, then you should figure out whatever that formula is for you. It's not for me to, you know, tell someone they're playing the game wrong or right, or, you know, it's up to you. So I can see where he's coming from. And also, you know, I think that's for every player to come up with on their own.
Yeah. I mean, one of the reasons I like having him on as a co-host is I'm completely different. I love FPL review, all that sort of thing. I'm massively analytic, so it's good to have a contrast there, isn't it? You know what I mean?
Sure. Yeah. It's always nice to have differing viewpoints so that, you know, the listeners can take and leave different parts of everybody.
The last question I ask in this section, Walsh, is what advice would you give to anyone who generally struggles with their mood/mental health as a result of FPL?
Well, I mean, I would firstly suggest that FPL is probably not the reason. It's probably like the seventh reason. It might just be the loudest emotional thing you're feeling on Saturday. I would probably suggest you take stock at the other relationships in your life first. You know, it's not because of FPL. It's not FPL, it's you. So, you know, it might be because mom and dad got divorced. It might be because your sister's an asshole. It might be because your kid's sick. I don't know. But, you know, to really kind of take a fuller inventory of who you are, you know, what your identity is, you know, which is, you know, who you are, not what you do. And figure that out and kind of come up with a more loving way to do that to yourself so that you can, you know, integrate FPL in a way so that it's joyful because it's a game. Like people, if you're in a, you know, in air quotes, I don't like the word toxic, but I think it's appropriate here. If you're in a toxic environment with relation to other people and how they experience FPL, it's human nature to kind of want to fit in, you know, you just get sucked up into that, you know, and you just, you know, if you're in an echo chamber that's like that, then, you know, you're susceptible is what I would say. So it's, you know, it's also taking stock of who do you interact with around FPL, like how does that look, and who are those people, and what's that like? But yeah, just reiterating back to the earlier notion of, it's, and even if that is like, I am already emotionally fragile and raw. These experiences, because you fail more than you succeed in FPL. It's human nature to remember your losses, not your wins. You have to be whole, and you have to be healthy to play FPL in a healthy way. It's not one or the other. It's that is how kind of I see it. I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, I suppose, because I won't say what you do, but we both have a sort of a psychological sort of background, don't we? I'm thinking, like, if I hope you don't want me saying that, I can cut it if not. But
no, you're good. Just totally nothing. I'm all good.
Yeah, if someone approaches FPL as sort of as a form of catharsis, which you might do with, like, I don't know, playing computer games or something. I mean, the thing is with a computer game, as long as you play it enough, you're going to get better at it. Whereas with FPL, you have absolutely no control. Do you know what I mean? It's like probably the worst thing you could go for escapism if you're trying to, as you say, escape from negative things in your life. Would you agree with that?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I think it goes amiss that, you're competing with 10 million people and one person wins. I mean, you're essentially, to win, if that's the objective, one person out of 10 million, like, to really just comprehend that. So, you're just losing every week. You will always every week find something that went badly for you and your team, even if every player returned, someone hit the post.
Even if you win. I mean, I looked at the winner. I think Focal did a video about his moves. Even he did shit moves and had bad games weeks.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's the kind of thing is, to really understand why you're playing it. Because if you're able to separate that, okay, I'm not going to win, I'm not going to do well, and I love having 3 Arsenal players on my team at all times because I am a season ticket holder and I can go watch them play, and that's awesome. Great, but if it's I want to just change, or however you want to make that yours, you can do that. I believe you can do that, but it requires, real strength and fortitude and compartmentalizing and, just understanding yourself really well and what you're going through in relation to the experience of the game, because there's so many games, there's so many actions, there's so many things that happen so constantly. The amount of times that you're left disappointed or upset is off the charts. It's skyrocket. In a 38 game week season of playing this game, it's thousands, it's thousands of times. The guy you considered but didn't get in that scored, that happens every week because you're considering like 12 players, someone's going to score, and you have to be able to fortify yourself against these just absolute facts of what happens when you play the game. And if you can do that, then you can have the type of escapism that someone has when they play Hearthstone or I don't know, whatever video game. I'm not a video gamer, but whatever video game they play, right?
Yeah, so we'll move on now.
But it's hard.
Yeah, it definitely is. Good advice. So we'll move on now to like the last section where I just sort of generally ask about some general FPL type stuff. And usually I begin this by saying, how's the season going? But obviously, as I said, we're recording this before the price reveals. I was a bit upset they haven't even done any price reveals today. But
yeah.
But having looked at the fixtures, if you have, Walsh, is there anything that stands out to you from sort of the early fixtures? Anyone you reckon is going to sort of like be in the template, any teams?
Yeah, I glanced at them. It looked like Bowen had a pretty good game week 1, and a kind run. He might get a little bit more press than typical.
Got Burnley, I think.
Yeah, and I think Spuds had a pretty good game week 1 opener. Spurs,
yeah.
Are they playing a promoted side or?
I think they may be.
I don't have it open.
I think they might be playing Sunderland, something like that.
Something like that. Sunderland away, maybe. It's just so hard. I like to just take a cursory glance at the fixtures, but before the game comes out and I really get stuck with the prices, it's so hard to know like how the jigsaw is going to kind of fall into place. But something I've been a very strong proponent of that I plan on doing this year, waiting to see what the prices look like, but is bench boost in game week 1.
Really?
And then committing to an early wild card. Last year I kind of did that, committing to an early wild card in a halfway house kind of way, where I had some picks that I was like, okay, if these things go well, I might be able to stave off wild card till game week 8 or something like that. And this year I'm either going to bench boost game week 1, wild card week 2, or week 3. I have to see what the prices look like and how it goes. But I generally hate the chips, and I like getting them off my plate so I don't have to think about them. And I like the idea of doing it when you have when you can only wild card and bench boost the same game week 1. So I know there are people are like, oh, well, you don't know who's nails. Like, oh, I could pick 15 nail players, like Barco last year, famously, the little redhead from Brighton. I don't know if you remember that, who was a 4 million. Yeah. And so I think I got 4 points on my bench boost last year, game week 1. It was pretty cool, but I'm going to do it again this year. So I'm going to have to look at the prices and probably pile up real heavy on a couple of those good fixtures. And, hopefully I hit a couple cleans. That's really all bench boost is in the end.
With a few headers.
Yeah. Oh, well. Don't tease me.
To be honest, I'm thinking that myself, because my bench boost the last couple of years have been crap. And, you always do it late on in the season, and then we're in that late wild card and put players on your bench who otherwise wouldn't, money on your bench you otherwise wouldn't have. Do you know how I know that I've made about 4 or 5 videos or live streams in the last week, and you're making too much FPL content, because I had a dream last night, or a nightmare, where I basically wildcarded in game week 2 because game week 1 had gone so badly, and I woke up sweating, thinking, why did I do my wildcard? Maybe I need to go a few days without thinking about it.
I've been there. No, I mean, it definitely infiltrates your dreams. You think about it before you go to sleep, but you might be thinking about it when you wake up. That happens for sure.
I mean, it's fine when the season's actually, we're in bloody pre-season. The game hasn't even launched yet, but I think it's just doing so much content.
Yeah, it's always on the mind. I mean, it's like a part-time job for us, right? I mean, It's always on the mind. Maybe less so in the off season, but it's always there. How did you decide to do the interview style? Because it's something that there really isn't out there, but it's a really cool idea. Well, did you just want to have more long form and get to know these people?
Basically, I started my YouTube channel randomly, just as one night when you just decide to do something, like randomly in October. It wasn't at the start of the season. I wasn't even planning to do an FPL YouTube channel. I did like a movie. I've got a movie review channel as well.
Oh, cool.
And a few other things. This is just the one that I've spent all the time on. And I did some videos about FPL and mental health and a few tier lists and stuff. And then I was like, how am I going to keep this going? Then I started the interview series and made a few ranty videos, about kits and stuff. And then sort of realised, if I'm going to do this properly, I've got to start previewing and doing reaction streams. So I started that sort of as an experiment in like game week 30 last year. And now I'm trying to... That's probably going to be the main content for the channel going forward. But the interviews are sort of what make the channel... unique.
Take over.
Yeah, well, they're
unique.
Unique, sure. Yeah. So they take a lot of work.
I bet.
Compared to just doing a live stream, but I still want to keep them going, because I think at less of a rate, but like once a month or something, because I think they're what sets the channel out as being something a bit different. You get what I mean?
No, totally.
So a few random questions I've got in here. How important do you think it is for an FPL content creator to have a good rank history in terms of getting viewers and stuff? Or subscribers, I'm thinking of for YouTube, but followers is Spotify, isn't it? And do you think it should be important?
I think it depends. It depends. Firstly, I think as I've been doing this over the years, it might be a good marketing tool to get your first ears in. And if you don't have an entertaining, intelligible way of talking, you're going to lose those ears.
Yeah.
So, people are smart. If people are as invested in the FPL game that they want to listen to podcasts about it, they aren't dumb idiots that don't know anything about football. No. They know a lot. And, we've sort of, as we've learned more about our listeners, given a lot more credit to the audience. And, that's made us be even more true to who we are and what we enjoy and things we think we're good at, and focus more on that rather than trying to service a function or a subset of the FPL content.
It's a really good point you make, because it's one thing to watch the team selection video and fast forward to the end and just copy the content creator's team. I think what you're saying, somebody who's listening to something like this or a podcast like, is going to have to really be into it and be quite knowledgeable. I think I hadn't thought of it in that way.
Because, and there's going to be totally people that just copy like the guy who's really good's team, and they show you what their moves are, and they literally will copy every move for 38 weeks because they don't really play the game. They just view it as an investment. Maybe if I follow this guy, I might win the mini league at work. And that's great. That's that person. You do the thing. That's awesome. But like for people to actually listen and tune in on a weekly basis, they have to enjoy they have to enjoy listening, and they have to like you. They have to like, for us, they have to like Alon and Walsh. If they don't like us, they're not going to listen. Even if we might think we're making really great like points that are unique, or maybe not as out there in the in the world or something like that. So everyone listens to podcasts for different ways. Like, people are put off by our language. They listen to one, they're like, this is crazy. Like, these guys just curse every 4 minutes. And they're like, yeah, we curse. Like, if you don't like listening to that language, then there's 35 other podcasts. You go find the one that sings to you. And for us too, because the monetization is important. Like, I'm not going to lie. If we were making $0 on this, we would not have been doing this for 10 years. No. We've found that, we don't know, like, we didn't do the YouTube thing. We started a podcast. Like,
how does it work on Spotify? Is it just, because do they add adverts in? Because I've only become monetized literally in the last week.
Okay. Yeah. I don't, I'm not too familiar, because I know there's like Spotify ads. We don't do that.
Okay.
But for us, like, we have an advertisement like company that we have a contract with that we do a little, and it's not much, but we've found like the best way that we could make some money on this is through the Patreon and through really the cultivating of our community.
Yeah.
And we have the extra episode, we have whatever, all the shit that's on there. And we were, so it's almost like we don't necessarily care if we have 120,000 listeners per episode, if we're not having like the passionate listeners that will support us, So we were like, we got to just be us, and they'll find it. They won't, I don't know. But our hope is that, when someone new listens, they're just like, oh, this is fun. Like, I laughed a few times. Like, these guys are kind of funny. Like, they sort of know what they're talking about when they try. And, we try to provide a little bit of something for everyone. But like, if you're the type of person that only has, an hour a week to listen to an FPL podcast, and you don't watch that much, and you're relying on the FPL podcast to kind of guide you through the season, we are not that podcast. Like, we could be, you'll do badly, but we are not that like, if you want to do well, listen to The Wire, listen to good FPL players spending 99% of the podcast talking about FPL. Like, we don't even do that. We have some episodes where we spend like half the episode talking about FPL, and we do lifestyle questions because we just don't give a shit about the week, and we want to, and we sort of just we just kind of go with it. At this point, we're lucky and fortunate enough to be as stable and entrenched as we have been to probably take some of those risks, which is really in a really fortunate position to be in, of course. And we worked hard at it. It's, we put ourselves in position to get lucky there, and, we just kind of roll in that way.
The next question will be, what do you think nowadays should be considered a good rank for your, not like expert, but your, someone who listens to your podcast, or, is engaged in the general community?
Yeah.
What do you think should be considered a good finish? Top 10K, top 100K? What do you reckon?
Yeah, I think, 10K historically has been the watermark.
Yeah, I'm the same with you. I've only had one in 10 years.
Yeah. And I think it's just a little bit bizarre that it hasn't shifted. I guess there's some type of calmness to see 4 numerals or something rather than 5. But when you look at how many people played the game when this was supposedly the benchmark, top 10K, compared to how many people play the game now, it's not even the same game. I mean, it's literally not the same game. They've it's changed so much. And that idea, I think, needs to be updated. And yeah, I think 100K to me is a more reasonable target now,
I think so.
based on how many people play, and not only that, but how much information there is. Like how much better the managers that play and are engaged now are than, for instance, when I started. Like the information is literally shoved down your throat. If you open the app, they like tell you what to do, and it's usually going to be a good move. I mean, it's that easy to access.
What do you think you heard about the AI thing coming into the game?
Not really. Can you break it down for me
They
succinctly?
Haven't announced what it's going to be. So a lot of people are
Okay.
speculating it's going to be basically an FPL review in the game. Other people are saying it might just be like ChatGPT, where you can say how many shots on target has Haaland had into. But there's been a lot of kickback, which, to be honest with me, is a bit OTT when we don't even know what it is yet. But if it was like an FPL review sort of thing, suggested transfer, suggested captain, would you be opposed to that, or?
I guess I just don't care. Like, I mean, I've never bought FPL review. Like, I don't look at I go on FBref sometimes if I'm interested to learn about something very specific. Like, I want to know how Wharton's progressive passes stack up against like the guys that get sold for 150 million kind of thing. But like, I just watch so much and I trust my knowledge and my interpretation of the game. And that's what I like to do anyway. I don't like to check the numbers and have that dictate my decision, or be a very heavy influencing factor in my decision, unless if I want it to, and then I'll go look at it, which is very different than how I used to play. I used to be on Fantasy Football Scout members all the time, comparing players in the member section and, looking at little things and, the left flank of this team. And like, I was like, what am I doing? Like, I'm not having fun doing this. So I just stopped one year and I never have done it again. And for me, it's nice, but like, just because the FPL review, like, people enjoy using it, then use it. I mean, if it's not that secret of a code to get on it. So like, if someone wants to use it, they could have done it anyway, just because there's an extra little area of their glass screen that they could tap on to see, do Haaland to Mo in game week 3. I mean, whatever, I mean, I don't really, that's more power to the person if that's what they like doing. And maybe they won't like doing it, but the game's interest is not to be the best game. The game's interest is like Candy Crush, to get clicks and engagement. Like, why do they keep adding more chips? Why do they keep adding more points? Why do they keep making all the premium players more accessible to put in your team? Number go up, people stay engaged. Like, that's what they're doing. So
they're terrible at doing it, because I've literally seen people comment on some of my videos that the AI manager made people quit. The assistant manager made people quit last season because it was so complicated.
Yeah, I mean, they're brain dead, and I understand Southerns is over there. I don't know what his role is or anything, but I mean, he at least is a respectable, smart, good FPL person who's been engaged in the game for a long time. I just think that when people are looking at it as though they're trying to make the best game for for us, it's not for us. They can add 50 fucking assistant manager chips. I'm still playing this game. Goddamn.
We're the last people they're thinking about, really.
Yeah, we're the last people with it. So, that has to be understood. Otherwise, you just get enraged. And, what good does that do? You just have to understand. And if it really bothers you, then make your own game and play it with your friends. There's no one's telling you can't do that, but, we don't have control over that kind of stuff. So, we are just the plebs and the cogs. And so, if someone wants to play with AI, or it's just a casual manager who's going to put the AI thing in, then the gen pop manager is just going to get better. And that's it. I mean, players that we compete against just get more accessible, statistically backed information. Okay. Whatever. I'm good. Like, I'm not going to do it. Like, I'm not going to use it. It doesn't really affect me.
So, second to last question I have, Walsh. What's the most random reason you've ever picked a player for your FPL team?
Most random reason?
Yeah. FPL Nightmare suggested I throw this one in. I think it's quite a good question, though.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. I'm trying to think about most random reason. I mean, I don't do it like the thing where, oh, they have a baby bounce because they just had a kid, so they're going to come out. Like, I haven't done something like that.
That wouldn't even be that random, because I suppose there is some psychology involved in
I
that.
suppose, yeah.
A bit over the top psychology.
I mean, I don't know if I'm probably missing something, and Alon's probably, if Alon listens to this, he's probably like, it was this guy, like in this year, you fucking moron. Like, how did you forget that? Like, it probably went badly, so I blocked it out of my memory. But I feel like I generally have reasons why I bring guys in, so I'm not, nothing's coming top of mind where I was just like, fuck it. Like, I might as well just flip a coin or something. But there are times when I'm so, actually, I got there at the end. There are times when I am so flummoxed by which of these three players, like I will just have my wife pick for me, almost like a random number generator. She doesn't know a single thing. She's literally never watched a game of football with me in her life. She doesn't know any players. She just knows that I complain about Kevin a lot, Kevin De Bruyne. And like she has little things that, like when we're walking the dog, I might like just stream of consciousness, and then she forgets it usually. But I think I've inundated with Kevin so much over the years that she definitely knows about Kevin. But I'll just say, like, I need to pick one of these three guys, like Mo, Holland, Palmer, like which one? And she'll just say Palmer, and then I'll captain Palmer. So I've done that before a lot, actually. Yeah.
Cool. So you can blame the wife basically then if it goes wrong.
Yeah. Well, I don't do that, but yeah.
So,
yeah.
Last question, mate. Very generic question. What would your general advice be on how someone can have a good FPL season next year in terms of their rank?
Oh God. I think the best thing to do is to know yourself as a manager and to understand how you play. A lot of people are very patient, sometimes to a fault. A lot of people are too reactive, or are reactive, sometimes to a fault. And some people like captaining rogue and try and hit big EV plays. And something that Alon and I have talked about in the past on the pod is kind of sticking to the same style for the whole season, so that you aren't kind of like wishy-washy and dithering between conservatism and reactivity, or because then you're almost putting yourself in position to fail twice, rather than giving yourself the small sample size of 38 game weeks to see if this style will pay off over time. Because whatever your style is rooted in sense somehow, somewhere. But it's up to you to kind of delineate what is the sense. And, if you know that you're a patient manager, you're able to identify what your weakness is within that, or your blind spot is within, it's kind of just picking what it is and being true to that and being patient, 38 game weeks without saying, okay, this year I'm going to do X, and it's not what your MO is. And then you revert back to your MO in game week 13 because it's not working. Every season is a small sample size. It's a small sample size within a small sample size. And there's so much luck involved in the game. So I think it's partly that, just being true to your nature and your managerial style and following through with that for the season, and then taking stock at the end, and doing a review of your season, and what worked, what didn't work, what you liked, what you didn't like, what was successful, what was unsuccessful. And kind of just doing that year to year, I think you'll probably be in pretty good shape.
Yeah, excellent advice, mate. Walsh, thank you so much for coming on, mate.
Yep.
It's been a real pleasure. Anything you wanted to say before we wrap up?
No, this was delightful. It was really nice meeting you, talking to you.
Yeah,
I
you too,
really
man.
appreciate the invitation, and it was a blast. It was really fun, and I've never really done anything like this before, so I enjoyed it, and you had great questions, and it was very fun. So thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it.
And if you or Alan are up for coming on the podcast at some point over the season, that would be brilliant.
Absolutely, always, anytime.
Awesome. Thank you so much, mate. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching. Please like to help get the video out there. Please subscribe. Please check out channel memberships. I figured out how to do end screens recently. So please click on the button near Walsh's head to subscribe, and there should be some other interviews coming around my head now. Thank you so much, everyone. See you in the next one.